There Will Come Soft Rains by Sara Teasdale. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war. Not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone.
This morning, when I went out to get the mail, it was raining softly, and there were sounds of birds. You may be able to hear them now. And the soft rain and the sound of the birds reminded me of a poem I learned back in college. It's written by Sara Teasdale, and it's called There Will Come Soft Rains. Now, she wrote that poem in like 1918, but the fear of war had gotten pretty much the Western world in the feeling that everything was coming to an end. Well, we know that it didn't. And in fact, that same poem inspired Ray Bradbury to write a short story in 1950 by the same title, There Will Come Soft Rains. His was about a nuclear disaster when the world feared that the world would come to an end through nuclear bombs. It didn't. But as you hear this poem, I think you'll agree that it sounds like it could be written for what we're going through right now. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war. Not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. Now that poem sounds a bit pessimistic, but I can tell you that Sara Teasdale was wrong. To whatever extent you believe that the world as we know it is not forever, that there will be a new heaven and a new earth, to whatever extent you believe that, birds and animals are not exempt. And just as Sara Teasdale wrote that in World War I, and it didn't come to pass, and just as Ray Bradbury wrote the short story by the same title after World War II, and that disaster didn't come to pass. And just as we right now, I'm getting heckled by a blue jay in that tree over there. Just as we right now wonder if we'll ever be normal after this, I can assure you that it will be. Go away. I came outside because it was quiet. But that illustrates my point. Sara Teasdale was of the opinion that man would find some way to destroy himself and that human life would stop, but animal life would go on. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war. The animal life of this world doesn't worry about the things that we worry about. Robert Burns, in his poem To a Mouse, which is written in Scottish dialect, and if you ever try to read it, you have to almost translate that Scottish dialect. But basically it's about a farmer who's plowing a field, and his plow is turning the soil, and he accidentally uncovers a mouse that was sleeping, hibernating. And he picks up the mouse, who's so groggy he doesn't run off, in his hand. I've actually experienced that myself. Not where I'm so groggy, but where the mouse that I picked up in the winter outdoors was. And he starts talking to this mouse, and it's actually a very profound poem. Kind of a silly premise, but a very profound poem, and it was based on an actual experience in Robert Burns' life. We get the phrase, "The best laid plans of mice and men gang after glee." The best laid plans of mice and men often go wrong. And he's talking about the fact that the mouse had plans to hibernate for quite some time, and the plow disturbed that. The plow broke up that normalcy. And the same thing happens with man. We had plans to finish one of the best school years in the history of Calvary Christian schools, our 40th anniversary year, with a big celebration after graduation on the grounds, a big 40th anniversary celebration. And I'm not saying that won't happen, but let's face it, whatever plays out between now and that event is very uncertain. Robert Burns told the mouse, he says, "But thou art blessed compared with me. The present only touches thee. But ouch, I backward cast my eye on prospects drear, and forward, though I cannot see, I guess and fear." He knows that that mouse, even though it's been disrupted, doesn't worry about the past, doesn't worry about the future. They live pretty much in the present. The present only touches thee. And in that respect, Sara Teasdale, in her poem, There Will Come Soft Rains, when she says robins will whistle their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war, not one would care, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly, and spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. She has it right in that birds, animals, mice, they live in the present, and they are not consumed with prospects drear, as Burns said. The prospects, depending on who you're listening to right now, might seem a bit drear or dreary or grim. But we know who holds the prospects. We know who holds the future. None of this has caught our Father off guard. And as we endure, as we occupy till that day we return to school, as we keep on keeping on, forgive all the cliches, but that's what we have to do. And as we do, there will be a day when we know what Scripture says, that this too shall pass. and God will help us carry on.
So we do not lose heart, for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen.